Okay, Rory, we're here. We've short-sighted ourselves a little bit, so we got a little bit of a tough chip here. So take us through kind of, you know, your ball's here, you got wind, you got grain, you got all this going on. How do you process all that and decide what type of shot you're going to hit?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, the lie is going to dictate what shot you can or can't play. Luckily, I've given myself a pretty decent lie here, so I've got options. But yeah, I mean, I've short-sighted myself. I think when you're in a position like this, you know, my first thought is just give yourself a putt. Give yourself a putt for par. You know, you could, you know, the worst thing you want to do is try to be too cute with it. You know, be a little, you know, try to do a little too much, leave it in the bunker, and then you've really got your work cut out just to make bogey. So for me, I'll just try to, I'll try to pick a spot on the green where I'll try to land it. So I'll go up, I'll walk around, I'll try to pick a spot. And actually for this shot, you probably want to land it further, because the further you land it, the less slope it's gonna hit on. So I'm really trying to land this thing sort of right around here, right around pretty much just at the hole, flight it up in the air.
Yeah, you got a little bit of wind maybe against you.
Yeah, maybe to help.
If you make a mistake short, you're going to look like a hero because it's just going to roll down.
Exactly.
If you make a mistake long, you should have a little more spin on it.
Yeah, so give yourself a little margin for error.
Yeah.
And then what I try to do then is, you know, I've got my landing spot, and then I try to visualize the trajectory that I want this ball to go on to land at that spot. So that's really all you try to do with this. I mean, in terms of technique on how to hit the shot, I mean, obviously you want to open the club up a little bit so that you can get a little more loft on it, a little more height. And then because we're Bermuda, it's a little grainy. I'm not going to try to go into the ground as much. I'm going to try to maybe, you know, like clip it off the top.
So when you do that, do you feel like it's an earlier release?
I feel like there's not as much hinge on the way back, and then I don't need to release it. It's wider.
I
feel like my right arm almost stays. It doesn't stay straight, but the feeling is that it stays
more this way, so you can be more shallow coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's sort of how I like to play these shots. So I'll give it a go. And
ball position?
I mean, a little forward. I think the more forward you have the ball, the more you can keep your weight on your left side.
How much weight do you think you have?
I'd say probably 70-30.
Okay.
70 on the left, 30 on the right. So, and then just try to stay on that left side, and that can guarantee the strike.
Do you think about a finish from there? Like, if you want a higher shot, do you finish farther, lower shot less, or do you?
Not particularly. I mean, for me, I'll rehearse it here where it's equal back and through. You know, it's just quite wide.
This is more of a stiff arm shot for you.
Yeah. It is with a lie like this. You get other grass, or where it's maybe not quite as grainy, you could maybe be a little little more delicate with it.
When you do those practice swings, I noticed one thing you do so great is your chest keeps moving the whole time. Is that kind of a thought?
Try to, you know, as I said, it's all sort of, I have a lot of right side feels in my game. So as I said, right arm sort of straight, and then I try to, cover the ball with my right shoulder, and then that automatically gets the chest to open up.
Yeah, perfect.
And that came off a little short, but
well done.
It's going to do okay.
Yeah.
Margin for error.
And that's a normal divot, you think, into the grain.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I struck that one pretty well.
Yeah, it's not an easy lie. I mean, you made it look easy, but there's quite a bit of grain against you.
Yeah. So same thing, it's there, and then just try to keep it nice and shallow.
Beautiful.
That one caught off the collar.
Now, if you were down grain in this situation, would you play it differently or kind of play it the same?
I think I would play it differently.
Would you?
I would hinge it a little more and hinge and rehinge and try to release the club under the ball more. Yeah. Get a little more spin.
That's a big deal for most amateurs. I mean, we're out there trying to hit shots, and you know, being wide into the grain makes so much sense to me to keep you shallow. Yeah. If you start hinging at all, it's not one technique for all lies. Yeah. But yeah, if you hinge, you're gonna have to unhinge, and that's gonna put the leading edge.
And that's where
right into the grain, which
you can, you know, if you hinge and then all of a sudden you rock back onto your right side and you try to unhinge, you know, you're gonna get all sorts. You're gonna get all sorts of stuff. So
nice. How about if you're gonna play this, let's say, to the checkered flag?
Yeah, so again, there's I think there's options. But I think when there's a lot of green to work with, I've become much more comfortable going down in loft than going to a sand wedge or a gap wedge to play these sorts of shots. Especially here, because it's, if I'm trying to hit this with a lob wedge, it's probably going to be landing on the downslope, and then you're not going to get so much stop. So I'd play this with a lower loft. You've got my 54 in your hand, so I'll probably use the 54. And again, same as what I just said with this one, I'll try to find my landing spot. So I'll go up there, try and find my landing spot, and then visualize in my head the trajectory that I need to play this shot for the landing spot that I've hit for it to trundle over that hill and get close to the pin.
So more square face on this because it's a 54?
Much more square face, but still the same thought in terms of technique, because it's on a similar lie, wide to wide and nice and shallow, and just try to pick it off the top of the turf.
How about the weight on this one? A little less or the same?
It's maybe not quite as much as the flop shot, but it's still, I'd still want to try to pressure into the left side a little bit. So say maybe like 60-40.
It's really the same technique you just used with the 60, but with a square face 54, and that will give you your trajectory.
Exactly.
Cool.
And then ball position's obviously not as far forward, and my stance is a little narrower. Just came out a little hot.
Yep.
Try it one more time. That one dug in a little bit.
Do you ever play around with your hands higher or lower on shots?
Yeah, so this, I was just going to say that this, I would have my hands a little higher.
Yeah, and why do you do that?
So I think it's easier to guarantee the strike. When your hands are lower and you've got, it's just nice to feel like you're using the whole soul instead of, if your hands are a little lower, it feels like the heel gets in there first and, can turn it over, it can get stuck.
It looks like you're playing it more, with not more of a draw spin type shot too, or more straight than there's no cut to it for sure.
Yeah, no.
Were you pulling across this one a little bit, you think? On the shorter one, just a little?
A little bit.
That
because then you have
straight.
to, because with the shorter one, to get the speed, to get it up high, you want to swing fast, but if you swung fast and swung down the line, the ball will go too far. So to just sort of cut across it to take some of the speed off of it.
Yeah.
That's sort of why. But this one, you want this ball running. And obviously the easiest way to do that is to, draw spin, or at least not cut spin.
Yeah, you're not thinking draw spin, you're just thinking
No, I'm
neutral.
just thinking, sort of hands a little closer to it, hands a little higher, and then still that same sort of wide thought